Hi, my name is Addie Brinkley, and I'm a sophomore here at Virginia Tech, majoring in human nutrition, food, and exercise. In this presentation, I'm going to tell you about the physical activity guidelines for Americans. Did you know that almost 80% of adults in America are not meeting the guidelines for both aerobic and muscle strengthening activity? In this presentation, I'm going to tell you about the physical activity guidelines for Americans released by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, designed to promote health and reduce the risk of chronic disease in Americans. By the end of this presentation, you will understand the guidelines for children and adolescents, adults, and older adults, as well as pregnant and postpartum women. These guidelines will be applicable to yourself currently, yourself in the future, or to a family member. So before we get into the guidelines, I want to share with you guys a quote that inspires me from the physical activity guidelines. So it says, "Research shows that just about everyone gains benefits, men and women of all races and ethnicities, young children to older adults, women who are pregnant or postpartum, people living with a chronic condition or a disability, and people who want to reduce their risk of chronic disease." So now we're going to look at the physical activity recommendations for children and adolescents. So for preschool age children, it is recommended that they get in a variety of active play activities throughout the day. This promotes growth and development. Children and adolescents should get in 60 minutes of physical activity per day at least, and there should be a variety in the physical activities, and they should be fun and age appropriate as to promote kids having a positive relationship with exercise. The activities should be moderate to vigorous aerobic every day, and 3 of the days should be vigorous aerobic activity. 3 of the days should include muscle strengthening activities, and 3 of the days should be bone strengthening activities. And some examples of bone and muscle strengthening activities are climbing, jumping, and hiking, because these put stress on the body, therefore making it stronger. Next, we're going to take a look at the guidelines for adults. So the physical activity guidelines overall recommend increasing movement and sitting less to promote health. More specifically, the guidelines recommend adults get at least 150 minutes of moderate activity or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity. These don't have to be traditional gym activities. More lifestyle activities like gardening, pickleball, spin, or rollerblading promote aerobic activity. The guidelines also recommend adults perform muscle strengthening activities at least 2 days per week. Some examples are Pilates, weightlifting, yoga, bar, and rock climbing. Now we're going to look at the recommendations for older adults and pregnant and postpartum women. So for older adults, the same guidelines apply as for the general adult population. The only difference is that the guidelines recommend incorporating balance training into the activities. Tai Chi and walking are great balance promoting activities. Other recommendations for older adults are that they should determine their level of effort for physical activity relative to their fitness. So basically what this means is that don't take it too hard and do whatever feels good. Another recommendation is that older adults with chronic conditions should understand whether and how their conditions affect their ability to do regular activity safely. And when older adults cannot do 150 minutes or more of moderate intensity aerobic activity, they should be as physically as active as their abilities or conditions allow. And for pregnant and postpartum women, it is recommended that they get in at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity and only partake in vigorous activity if they did so before their pregnancy. And as always, women should consult their healthcare providers throughout their pregnancy and seek guidance on whether or how to adjust their physical activity during pregnancy and after the baby is born. So I hope by the end of this presentation you feel empowered to not be a part of the 80% of Americans who are not meeting the physical activity guidelines, and that you understand the guidelines for children and adolescents, adults, and the special populations, older adults, and pregnant and postpartum women. These guidelines will be applicable to yourself currently, yourself in the future, or to a family member. Thank you.